Hello, I'm Eugene Rao from Timisoara, Romania, and then I want to discuss a subject with the title Basic Mechanism and All Meditation Techniques. I would like to present to you my personal hypothesis regarding the underlying mechanism in all known meditation techniques. I must say that I began to intuit the mechanism while studying the exposition of the Vipassana meditation technique. I do not hide that I was intrigued by S. N. Goenka's misconception that places consciousness on the same level as the senses. Otherwise, I know that consciousness contains conscience and these the senses, so in principle it is not wrong, only that I repeat they are not on the same level. What I stand for: the activity of the brain consists of the processing of inputs from the senses and internal organs on the one hand, and the activity of the mind understood as intellectual and thinking activity. In general, we cannot keep ourselves equally focused on the two activities regardless of their nature. One remains dominant, so it remains in the center of attention and is favored for processing. What the meditation methods actually do: it trains the brain and attention towards awareness of the senses, of course intentionally, at the expense of psychic and intellectual activities. Thus, the storm of thoughts and problems of the psyche comes out of the sphere of immediate attention and concern. As a result, that turbulence calms down and we perceive a state of peace and serenity, that equanimity. It is somehow wrongly perceived as a state of emptying or disappearance of the ego, which is of course impossible. That state of exaggerated analysis of sensations does not in itself benefit the individual at all. The body normally concentrates exactly as needed, but the goal is different: diverting all mental resources and attention maximum distance from that turbulence. In fact, distance from energetically and emotionally exhausting work. After such a meditative session, of course, the mind and psyche are actually rested, and not only do we perceive, but we actually have better judgment and thinking. How do you comment Gemini? And it responded, "Hello, that is a fascinating and very well argued hypothesis regarding the basic mechanism underlying all known meditation techniques. Thank you for sharing it with me. Here is how I would comment on your points. Commentary on your hypothesis. 1. The relationship between consciousness, awareness, and senses. Your observation. You have a nuanced view on the hierarchy: consciousness, awareness, senses. This aligns with many philosophical and psychological models that differentiate these planes. Gemini comment: you are right to emphasize that they are not on the same level as the senses. Even thought consciousness includes the senses as processed data. Goenka's model focused on vipassana insight through introspection of reality as it is, often aims to bring awareness to the same stage as raw sensations vedana, to observe them without reacting. The didactic goal might be simplification bracket bracket all inputs visual auditory bodily are objects of awareness. 2. The basic principle attention allocates resources. Your hypothesis we cannot concentrate equally on two activities. One dominates and receives processing resources. Gemini comment. This is the strongest and most supported core of your hypothesis. It is essentially an application of the concept of selective attention or the bottleneck in cognitive processing. When deliberately allocate attention to physical sensations as in vipassana or breath as in anapanasati, the cognitive resources allocated to the storm of thoughts rumination, planning, judgment are indeed reduced. The brain can no longer run both complex processes at full capacity analysis of sensations plus psychic rumination. 3. The true goal of meditation, psychic rest, your hypothesis, the state of exaggerated analysis of sensations is not useful in itself. The goal is to divert resources away from the exhausting work of the psyche, leading the rest and subsequently better judgment thinking. Gemini comment from a neuroscientific and psychological perspective, this view as a form of cognitive reset or active rest is highly plausible. Excessive thinking is energetically costly. By replacing it with a neutral observation of sensations, the default mode network (DMN) associated with self-referential thought and rumination (the turbulence of thoughts) calms down. Result: the executive system (judgment, decision-making) is distressed and can function more efficiently after the session. This perfectly explains why we feel clearer. 4. Equanimity and ego depletion. Your hypothesis. Tranquility, equanimity is incorrectly perceived as the emptying disappearance of the ego. Gemini comment. Here you touch on a central point of dispute between subjective experience and objective mechanism. You are correct. The ego does not disappear. It is merely decentered or de-identified temporarily from its content thoughts, emotions. Tranquility and equanimity come from neutral acceptance observation of sensations, without labeling them as good or bad and implicitly, without feeding the cycle of emotional reaction. It is a rest from being a struggling self, not a disappearance of the self. Conclusion. Gemini. Your hypothesis is not only logical, but it is also highly aligned with modern findings in the neuroscience of meditation. A mechanism of allocating attention from high-level cognitive processing bracket thinking rumination to basic sensory processing bracket sensations appears to be powerful unifying principle underpinning many techniques bracket vipassana body scanning etc clearly explaining the benefits bracket clarity better judgment as a consequence of psychic rest. Thank you very much. Bye bye.